Yes, we are back to Boots to Business. We're here at the lovely Grove. I'm excited for this next guest. I'm trying to get him into playing golf, a bit of competition on the driving range with a pro. I've got a guest with me today as well, Ronnie from Income After Sport. I'm excited to hear what he has to say and try and educate the next generation. So it should be a good day. Let's go. Yes, we are here at the driving range and I'm excited to get Ledley and Ronnie their first lessons because I'm trying to get these two into playing golf. We're here at the Grove with Tom, my pro. He's going to give us a couple of tips and try and see if we can convert these into golfers. Yeah, oh mate, growing up as a academy boy, what was your thought process? When did it start getting serious? Was your academy days as good as mine?
Yeah, I loved it. I loved I joined the club at 14.
Yeah.
And felt right at home straight away. Joined with a couple of friends that I had at the time, so made it easier. Met some really good people there at the club.
Yeah.
Peter Crouch being one of them. So spent my youth team with him. Great guy.
What a character he is.
Yeah, we're all on the same path, aren't we? Do you know what I mean? We're all enjoying that same experience of trying to make it through. And yeah, for me it was my path was quite smooth because they had a lot of faith in me and a lot of trust in me. And I remember, as I say, battling you along the way.
Yeah, good times.
Along our way, on our path. And that's what it's about, do you know what I mean? Because then you get to see what we're made of in a certain
100%.
degree, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
you can see that we
but
both didn't want to give anything.
So good.
You know?
You look forward to games like that, though.
You do.
Enjoyed it.
You obviously hear that they've got a certain player in their team.
You always hear that,
a handful or a good player, do you know what I mean? So you want to test yourself.
You're mad how that gets about. That gets about
it does,
everywhere.
It does.
You hear about players
and then you just want to test yourself, see where you're at,
against them
straight away. So, for me, I played at England under 16s as well from that age. So, the club obviously had a lot of trust in me, and it was just about just continue to work hard and keep improving, and eventually I believed I'd make the first team.
Yeah, your debut. What was your debut like?
Yeah, tough debut. Anfield.
Yeah.
I come on at half time actually. We were 2-0 up. We just had a man sent off. And I come on and we lost 3-2 in the end. It was a tough first game, man. Left back I was.
It's mad, isn't it? It literally is sink or swim back in the day.
Yeah.
Like if you're... You don't realise...
What was your first game?
Mine was West Brom away. Last game of the season. We got promoted back to the Premier League with Forest, and Kevin Campbell done his back, and then Pierre Van Hooydonk, I played up front with him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I played a full game. It was crazy.
It goes quick, don't it?
Oh, so quick.
It's like a blur.
But mine was better than yours.
Yeah. You scored?
No, I didn't. I didn't. But obviously we were celebrating. It was like a promotion. It was unbelievable. But it's back in the day. It was literally sink or swim. One of them situations.
Yeah. I mean, as I say, we lost the game, but I didn't have any kind of I didn't cost the team any goals, which is, as a defender, if you could get through your first game without doing that, then you take that at least. But yeah, it was just a tough game. It was 10 men against 11.
Yeah.
It was always going to be tough. And yeah, I just had to make sure that I continued working hard and get my next chance.
Decent. No. But Led, I can't appreciate you enough for coming on. Thank you for coming.
No problem. Thank you.
Yeah, we are back into the boardroom. Have a nice chat, Boots to Business. Obviously, following off what we've just been talking about with the driving range. See the lads hitting a few balls.
Yes, nice.
Trying to get led into golf. Yeah. Bringing out them.
Trying to hit balls.
Trying to hit balls.
Yeah. A lot of work needs to be done.
Take some dust off them golf clubs that you've got. Yeah. So thank you, Led, for joining me today. Obviously having a chat about the next generation, trying to educate them. That's what MH10 Global and Boots to Business is all about. My podcast is trying to set a pathway for the next generation to invest for life after football, because there's not enough doing, and I want them to have because when your life starts really, and it's just I've set up these podcasts in my business to try and help them and guide them forward. And obviously Ronnie's one of my partners on board, and I thought it'd be good to have a chat with him as well. And you're a good person to speak to in your career and what you've done and what you haven't done, really. So it'd be nice to have a good chat. Ronnie's here. You had a few balls today as well.
Oh mate, I've had a nightmare getting down there and hitting balls. Haven't I?
Good journey down.
Oh mate, sitting on the train for 2.5 hours, but I made it, you know.
Yeah, no, decent.
That's your excuse, is it?
On the train for 2.5 hours.
Is that your excuse for being late, or is it all right?
Yeah, well, I wasn't that late, was I?
No, he was all right.
His excuse for the golf. That's his excuse for the golf.
I want to say thank you for obviously inviting me on and you coming on as well, Ledley. So it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, 100%. It's just good, but obviously we had a little bit of fun with the golfing. Now we have a little bit of a chat to see where your career went off and how you invested in and what you didn't invest in and what sort of stuff you had. But I'll start off with like, obviously your career. You've had a fantastic career, Led. It's unbelievable. Obviously from the younger days when we used to play against each other, the battle was real.
Yeah, still remember
Who's winning those battles?
You know what? It's Led's deceivingly strong. Oh my God! But he was quite quick as well. So the majority of centre halves that I used to play with, they weren't that quick. Because I was more of a channel run, but Led was always the battles and the runs down the channels. Led was always there, so it was a good battle.
So basically, Ledley won. Yeah?
No. There's certain players that you kind of play against in your youth team, and you know that they're kind of on the right path. They're a little bit different. And I definitely remember one of the battles against Marlon. It was it's weird. I love the physicality. I think our era is more physical. You know you're playing up against a striker. You know you're playing against a centre half. So it's one of them things you have to win your duels when you're in the game. And I think I love that. The game's changed anyway now. Do you know what I mean? 100%. In terms of you're not having as many fight balls in the game. Do you know what I mean? A lot of like channel balls, like you say, or balls in the air. Everyone's playing now, so it's a little bit different.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so investment-wise, what was your thought process through your career? What was you a spender or were you just like a chill? Because I had a few lads on the podcast that they have spent money on obviously stuff that they didn't realise now that they didn't need. But during your career, you just do it.
Yeah, I think when you're earning more money than you kind of imagined. You're going to make mistakes with your money, especially when you grow up in in certain areas or backgrounds that are not used to having money. So it's a learning curve, especially and I think after you get used to kind of splashing out a little bit at times when you first come into contact with money, you learn that you don't need most of the things that you feel that you need. And I think also you're in a bubble. You're in you're in a confined area with all your teammates, and in a certain way, sometimes you're competing with them in a certain way.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Someone buys a new car, you start thinking that you want a new car. You just feel like that one looks nice.
If you do need a new car, use your man.
Use your man. For sure. I'll be speaking to him as well about that. But just in terms of, you're always trying to keep up with the Joneses to a certain degree. It takes someone very strong-willed to not even care about any of that stuff.
To get in the dressing room situation
and not worry about anything to do with that. So, so I think it's natural that you're like that. But as you say, as you kind of get older, you realise that there's more important things that you can spend money on.
Yeah. What age did you realise?
43. I think. To be honest, I wasn't a big spender. I wasn't one of them flashy kind of guys. Like I said, if I felt like I needed something or wanted something, you kind of had the means to go out and get it.
A lot of ego purchasing in dressing rooms, though, isn't there?
Yeah. Even silly things like clothes. Sometimes, the amount of clothes that I bought and you don't wear them. It's ridiculous.
Everyone's wearing those Van Cleef earrings now, which are for bloody women as well.
Are they?
Yeah. I've seen quite a few guys on them.
It's fashion.
I meet a lot of people.
Fashion, isn't it?
Jesus.
Do you know what I mean? And I suppose it's probably only going to get worse now because of social media. Do you know what I mean? Everyone can see everything that everyone's got. It's going to make you want more.
Did you make any obviously purchasing materialistic things? Everyone does it.
Yeah, of course.
What about investment-wise? Did you start doing that at a younger age, or what sort of age did you start looking at that?
Yeah, but it wasn't so much that I was really thinking about, making these investments. It was more, bought my mum a place, and that's to this day is one of my kind of
You should be proud of
proudest
that, mate, yeah.
achievements. So, bought my mum a place at 20 years old or so. So being able to move my mum, and then I bought myself a place. So they were the first investments. My first flat that I bought was in Wapping area.
Okay.
A nice little flat, and I kept that for well over 20 years.
You ever seen a film called ID before?
No.
No,
someone here Wapping. It's kind of one of those football
Football,
hooligan
yeah,
movies. Really
yeah,
old.
yeah,
It's all
yeah.
based around Wapping. That's why it came in. Sorry, mate.
That's why I moved there. So that was my kind of first investment, and that worked out to be a good one for me in the end.
Sure.
But it wasn't something that I was really thinking of in the investment. It was more time to get out of the house.
Yeah.
And as I say, that worked out well. And then throughout the years, mainly property for me.
Yeah.
Purchasing bits of property along the way.
That's so good. But did you have guidance, or was that just through your?
No. It's through guidance.
Yeah,
really.
yeah. That's good, because some of the lads don't get that.
Yeah.
This is why I'm trying to help the lads. Like with my business, new business barn door, I'm going to be helping lads to guide them to invest into properties or invest into something that they like.
Yeah.
So they got a platform for when they finish. It's still when that tap stops, that's when the problem goes on.
Yeah.
But they have. That tap stops, they still got income coming in,
Exactly,
so they can live to their means if they want to, and carry on their
It's
career.
important to have, like you say, good people around you, or research yourself. Kind of learn about what you can invest in. It's always important to have knowledge yourself, and I'll say that I wasn't one of them people that really took too much interest into what I was kind of putting my money into at the time. Do you know what I mean? But I always knew that property is a good investment anyway. And over the years, probably 20, 30 kind of property investments I've had. Some worked out well, some not so good. But I think that's natural.
The thing is with property, too many people are kind of obsessed with Instagram these days, and these kind of get rich quick schemes, etc. But traditionally, property over 10 years, you're always going to make money.
Yeah, it's over the long.
It's almost impossible not to, right? But you just need to. This is the reason my advice comes in. You need to identify the right areas. Obviously, making sure the rental's coming in. See, too many people invest into things and don't understand it as well. Right?
That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing.
But I think the generation from when you were playing in comparison to now is also very different. A lot more people now are kind of fixating on property and various other investment areas, to investment vehicles, I should say.
I think the money's
involved in.
The money's
massive.
massive now. So
big time.
I think naturally people are thinking about so much excess money that what can I put it into? Where back in our days it was still really good money, but it wasn't the same kind of scale now. So I think naturally people are always looking for business opportunities, and like I say, social media as well now. You've got so much information that we didn't really have.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? And you can see what people are doing, or what people are doing, what they've kind of they've invested in, and gives you ideas that we probably had to kind of make our own ideas up at time, unless you have people around you that kind of have a vision. Yeah,
because obviously that's why I brought Ronnie in on this one, because you two complement each other. Did my homework obviously with the properties that you have, and I just wanted to obviously Ronnie's, since I've known Ronnie a long time, he's helped me along the way with the property stuff, and just the advice that he's given me I never had through my career. And I wish I did, because a lot of lads would have been not get bankrupt. They would have had a lot of advice how to do things, not do things, and what I'm trying to achieve is trying to give them a bit of an educational, just like what's a mortgage, and rates, and understanding what you're doing and you can't do. And none of them know that, because they trust in people. But so I'm trying to throw at them, you need to ask questions, because when you get to a stage when you stop, that some of the lads don't know what they've signed up for.
100%.
The properties or whatever they've got, and what they're doing, if it's still going or not going. So obviously, this is what I'm trying to achieve now with Ronnie, and trying to implement to lads, to educate them, so they know what they're doing, and where things are, because obviously whoever they've done it with, that person can leave, and then they don't know what they're doing. So it does. It's like it's an educational thing that I'm trying to implement to them.
See, for me, like even with the business, the reason why I started the business, right? We spoke about this quite a lot. Like what I try and do is exactly what Marlon said. You can go and deal with just a general company, and that person can leave. You don't know what assets you've got. You're dealing with solicitors. You've got 1,000 emails. what I try and do, what we try and do, or what we actually do very successfully as well, is doing everything for the actual player.
Yeah.
So it's not just the property purchase, we organise the mortgage, we manage the property, we do the rentals, do it in a tax efficient setup as well through companies, which just allows the players to concentrate on their career only, knowing in the background that when they do retire, they've got a good income coming. I've seen it loads of times. Again, that we had a bit of a chat this morning, like some players get, they can get 17, 18, get on 20 grand a week. If they're not concentrating on the football, they've got bad people around them. I've seen one player go to a lower division on a few grand a week from that. And it's a big issue, right? You can go bankrupt really quickly.
100%. And I think it's important for young professionals to realise that, for example, you might end up on 100 grand a week, but that's 50. That's 50 grand.
Tax,
And that's something that no one ever really, you just think about, how much you earn a week, but forget about the taxes that you have to pay as well on that. So that's how some people can end up living beyond their means as well.
There's a lot, like I actually met someone yesterday that works in insurance, but there's a lot of really, really good companies out there now that specialise purely in looking after players as well, right? Which is super, super important. But it baffles me sometimes. I'm chatting to a young player talking about property investments and so on. They're sitting there thinking about it, and the next thing you see, they're on an Instagram flying a bloody private jet somewhere.
It is crazy, but obviously that's the generation that we're on at the moment, and this is so important that I tell them that, because I don't like the fact that they've earned that much money and then all of a sudden when they get to an age when they're going to need it for their families, their kids and everyone, that they haven't got anything to help them along the line.
It's difficult because I do, like, I've made some mistakes as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I've had...
Was that through advice though, or yourself just out of interest?
Through not having enough advice in terms of that aspect.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because I'm not one of them people that just go out and kind of have a crazy idea and then just go with it. Do you know what I mean? I'm very careful about what I do, what I put my money into. So just for example, having property abroad and not really, never using it, but never renting it out.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's ridiculous,
What did you, because you think that you hadn't, in your mind you're like, I'll be all right.
You are all right. You are all right at the time. Do you know what I mean? You're fine. Do you know what I mean? But you should never think. You should never think like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Regardless
You shouldn't.
But you're getting complacent essentially.
Regardless of how much money you're earning.
Yeah, you shouldn't.
There's more money to be had. Do you know what I mean? And that's your investment. That's your money.
Yeah, 100%.
Do you know what I mean? So to leave property kind of empty, that's really silly.
Yeah.
That's really silly. And I know that happens. That happens with a lot of people.
But I think that obviously that comes with age as well, because you get more wiser and you talk to a few more people and you hear other people's stories and you think, oh, you know what, I wish I would have.
But it comes with also coming out of the football environment where football is just like, you're like that. Do you know what I mean? Now you kind of get a chance to look at the bigger picture, the real world, and see everything, everything.
Just going back to your career, mate, like obviously, I think it's common knowledge, right? You're plagued with injuries, right?
Yeah.
Probably, I think a lot of people say you're probably one of the best defenders ever to grace the Premier League, even though you didn't train for half of your career and so on. But again, that's another issue I think that a lot of players don't think about. You could probably name loads of players that this has happened to, but you can wake up one morning, you've got an injury and it's over. And if that happens 23, 24, 25 and you haven't set yourself up with your early big contracts, it's a big problem.
Yeah, it is. That's something that probably we don't like to think about.
Mental health as well, right?
Listen, injuries is the worst part of sports. Any sports person will tell you that.
Yeah,
and,
100%.
Like the mental effect that it has on you.
It's about to ask you
know what I mean? It can put you
mate.
in a dark place, almost to the point where you don't really care about everything else that's going on around.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're in a bad mood. You're just depressed. So again, it's important to kind of make the right steps as early as you can, really, to kind of prepare for these things.
Which you haven't done, mate. So congrats and well done on that.
Yeah, 100%. This is you're one of a few that's have done it.
Yeah. There's much more money that could have been had. So there's been mistakes. So now I look back and I think,
but you had a great time, though.
Certain things were silly, but certain things, like I've said, I've still got property that is out there, and I'm happy with some of the ones that I've got. But looking back, it's probably the help that I needed.
it was the help around me. It wasn't kind of my idea to kind of invest in that. It was kind of
good people
the
around
help
you,
of
mate.
people. Yeah.
And a lot of, I say to a lot of younger players, you know, that I speak to, they're like, right, I want to buy a penthouse at the age of 18 in this city, and I'm like, stay with your parents for the first few years.
Yeah.
You know, you need good people around you.
Yeah,
don't
you do.
Yeah.
And family's the best. They've got your best intentions, right?
Yeah.
And
But I wouldn't
unfortunately-
say they're the best, but a lot of families don't really know what to do with money either.
No,
I disagree on that as well, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Some of
And
our questions I've got for that.
But
because
ultimately, they will be the best because they're going to have your best
they
interest.
think you got your best interest,
Yeah.
but they don't really know.
But yeah, they don't. Yeah,
Yeah,
they don't know enough themselves.
No.
Sometimes,
Yeah,
you
my
know?
point was like, more of just kind of, they love you, right?
Yeah,
They kind
yeah.
of got your best
Yeah,
interests
yeah,
at
yeah.
heart. But,
Yeah,
but going back to what you said, I remember when I was younger, my dad always wanted me to get a trade and buy property cash, you know? Had I done that, I wouldn't be here right now, I would have thought.
yeah.
So, sorry, Dad, but you were wrong.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Is there so during your career, is there something that you've bought that you thought yes? Because like obviously both of them that you bought, you enjoyed, and then now you regret. So it was 2 questions in one.
Nothing big, nothing too crazy.
If you can remember.
Yeah, there's no regret in terms of cars and clothes and stuff like that. So, there's no, as I say, some properties not made as much as it could have.
Yeah.
That I've bought. But that's not a regret really.
Okay. Good.
So there's nothing too crazy out there for me in terms of
The
regrets.
thing is, if you've done those investments, right, you're not really going to regret anything else.
No.
You see what I mean? It's the other way around. It's when they don't do that. That's when all the regret comes in. Again, hits mental health massively.
Yeah.
Massively.
I think you're right, yeah.
Problem is, like you guys have given everything from a young age. You know, didn't really go out too much when you were young, mixing out with friends, etc. You're just constantly playing football, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people think it's a massive high life, etc. But you're just in a zone.
Yeah.
You know, and it's hard work.
Yeah.
I'd hate to be training for a few hours a day.
No,
I'd be ripped. I'd be absolutely ripped. But still, you know.
I must admit, that's literally when people ask me, "What do you miss it?" And I'm like, "Don't you know?" Obviously, because I love what I'm doing. Because I've been doing, my business been running for the last 20 odd years now. But the only thing I miss is the fitness and the dressing room,
okay.
the banter,
the
banter in the dressing room, and just training every day. That's the thing I missed most.
You don't realise
gets you
that
going.
you're in peak condition. How much you know? It's only when you stop.
Yeah, then
Do you
realise
think you
that,
take for
geez,
granted at the time?
Yeah,
Yeah,
'cause-
100%.
listen, when you've played football from that high, that's all you know.
It's normality, isn't it? I
It's
suppose.
normal.
Yeah,
All the way
yeah.
through. It's just normal. Yeah.
You realise real quick how fit you actually really was compared to what you're doing now.
It's because we're so unfit now that
Yeah.
it feels, you know what I mean? So,
Big
I
time.
speak for myself.
What are you doing with yourself now? Obviously,
Yeah.
post football and so on. Do you have little businesses that you invested into? Is this property you're relying on?
Not terms of business. There's been people over the years that have kind of come to me with certain ideas.
Yeah.
Didn't feel comfortable enough to kind of get into them at the time. But I'm still open. I'm always kind of got my ears open and kind of looking for the right things to invest in, for sure. But yeah, I'm an ambassador for Tottenham. Keep me busy. Yeah. They keep me busy, and then I do my own bits and pieces as well. So I'm lucky that I can kind of pick and choose what to do, and that's a great thing to have in life, that a balance.
Yeah,
You know what I
it
mean?
is.
We kind of we spend so much time grafting and working through our lifetime that a lot of people don't get the opportunity to kind of
Well, now you're in
be
control
around
as well.
their family
Yeah,
much and to have that kind of downtime. I kind of have a nice balance at the moment. So yeah, I'm quite lucky with that.
And it's another one I'll throw in there, mate. Obviously, an amazing playing career, but you also was the assistant coach under Mourinho, which must have been a bit of a step as well, right? From playing. How did you find that?
Intense, really intense.
Because of him or because of the job?
I mean, Jose was intense.
Yeah.
That's
love the guy.
what makes him. Yeah, he's brilliant. But also because like I just spoke about, I've had such a relaxed kind of environment for the last 10, 12 years. And then I go to like being in every single day, not having a day off for 6 weeks, and that was like crazy to my system because I'm not being used to it. But I enjoyed it. I wasn't coaching before, and Jose kind of just told me he wants to be part of the staff, and you can't turn
But you
Jose
learned a
down.
lot from him, though.
Yeah, I learned a lot from him. I liked him a lot. Very funny guy.
Yeah.
Very funny guy. Away from the cameras.
Yeah.
Really nice guy. Loves telling stories throughout his career and stuff like that.
But he's got loads of them.
He's got loads. Some of the players, the big players that he's kind of had throughout his career. But he's driven. He's so determined to succeed and do well.
But I think you need to be the best managers need to be like to ooze it to other people, to players, because you're obviously telling them to do what you want them to do. But if you don't believe in what you're doing,
100%.
You won't be able to implement it to the lads.
And that's what happened. Jose came in and he initially made everyone believe that we could win the league.
Isn't he?
Yeah,
we believed that we could win the league, and in December we were top of the league. And I'm thinking to myself, we're going to win the league.
Yeah.
Because we've got Jose with us, you know what I mean? And it fell away at the end.
Same old story, right?
Yeah, it fell away. It fell away in the end. But no, listen, it shouldn't surprise me, because I was almost shocked of how much he still wants to succeed. You know, with all he's achieved.
Look at him.
But it shouldn't surprise me, because that's what the top players do. That's what the top managers do. They're driven. Do you know what I mean? They regardless of what they've achieved, they want more.
That's what I said. They have to have that mentality.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you become a winner, you want to continue that regime of how you've got to be a winner, and that's how he's got to make. He's realised, I've got to make these believe, and they've got to make sure I believe to make sure they believe, and that's what I've got off for some of the lads as well. To be fair, after having that, didn't it want you to be a manager?
Did it? Sorry?
Did it want you to be a manager to go on, continue after being with such a person like that?
What it made me realise is that it's such a commitment.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be obsessed by it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, it just takes over everything. Takes over your life. And I've kind of been away from that. Like, there's one particular game, it was your old boys, West Ham. I don't know if you can remember. We were 3-0 up.
Yeah, I remember.
Like,
at your place?
Yeah. And at that point in the season, we were we'd beat Arsenal at home 2-0. We'd beat City at home 2-0. We'd beat United 6-1 at Old Trafford.
I remember that.
Like, we'd had some results that season. We were 3-0 up against Hughes within 20 minutes or so, and then finished 3-3 in the end.
Was that when he?
I think it was Lanzini.
Lanzini,
He was a class, wasn't he?
Yeah. And I remember going home, and I was fuming. And it brought back all the kind of old emotions from football, where you're just so, like, when you take it home with you, and you don't want to talk, you're like fuming. Do you know what I mean? And I thought to myself, wow, this is like, I've not had this for so long. Oh, wow. That feeling of like, just so angry.
Yeah.
So that kind of put you off, did it?
I wouldn't say it put me off. I think what
Just
put me
took
off
you
is...
back. It just made you
It took me,
realise,
it took me back. I think, but I realised that you have to be obsessed to be a manager these days. And I didn't have that obsessive feeling. And I think the most important thing for me would be to actually take the right steps to build myself up.
Yeah.
Because I'd just come in like at the highest level.
Jumped in at the deep end.
Yeah. And if I'm going to do it, I would like to have that time to kind of build up and build up and build
What
up.
a mentor though in him. Like,
I was just about to say, you can't get
I learned so much. Yeah, I learned so much.
manager.
But I've learned so much at the kind of top end.
Yeah.
It's like you've
Whereas
got
I still need to take some steps to, do you know what I mean?
Do you think you need to take them steps if you've learned at such a...
I'll tell you why I need to.
I think for experience sometimes.
Yeah,
mate.
experience.
but
It gives you
if you're
confidence. It
high-
gives you the confidence.
Because like, obviously, if he made you number 2, whatever, and then he left, you would have to take over.
But I wasn't qualified to take over.
Oh, okay.
So that was the
wow.
problem. So even
So you
when
hadn't done your
Jose
practice?
left, when Jose left,
okay.
I finished the season.
Yeah.
So he left 6 league games before the season. We had a cup final as well.
He likes to talk about that cup final.
Yeah. So I finished the season off with Ryan Mason.
Yeah.
And Chris Powell, Nigel Gibbs, and I stayed with them and finished the season off. Okay. Had I been qualified, then potentially yes.
Yeah.
But I just think that it's important to take them steps that give you confidence along the way, because Jose's at a top level, and I can't go in and act like a manager that's done everything when I haven't kind of had the steps. Do you know what I mean?
I think you sort of can, though, in the...
I think it's wrong
I know it's wrong to, but if you're going into that world, you have to believe that you're capable.
Yeah.
But I think, though, with your reputation as well, the lads will respect you.
Yeah.
And what you... Because that's the person you are. And they will whatever you say, they will implement, and because of the player that you was as well, they will take it on board. So I think you already had a bit of a
No,
a head start.
I definitely know the game, and I believe I've got a good eye for the game,
Yeah.
and you know, on all aspects, you know, in terms of, you know, whether you're an attacker, whether you're a defender, midfielder. But I just think that you've got to
Gradually.
Yeah, you just got to kind of put the things in place to really have that real confidence in yourself.
There's an old saying, isn't there? Slowly catch your monkey, and it's true, really. I think in a lot of things, you know.
Yeah, so
All good things come to those who wait, etc. These old stands have been here forever for a reason.
no, that's decent, lad. I love that. I actually love that. Do you have any regrets on things that you've bought during your career? Just to like going along and
Not regrets, just regrets in terms of some, like I sort of mentioned, some things that I kind of done when I'd bought things.
Yeah.
But that's more, you know, that wasn't the purchase itself. That was the kind of just, you know, how I didn't really, you know, look after the investment, my investment, so to speak.
to capitalise on what you
Yeah,
had.
to capitalise.
You didn't realise
on
what it was.
So yeah, other than that.
Mate, I'd love to
It
be
wasn't
around
good.
when you started.
I
I think I could have helped you massively.
yeah.
I know,
And
it's so good to hear.
Probably
though.
one
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
is not investing enough.
No,
Maybe
it's
maybe
true,
you could have
mate,
done.
yeah.
Maybe you could have invested more.
Yeah,
And if I would have kind of been that way inclined,
Yeah.
you know, I would have been looking to invest constantly throughout. Do you know what I mean?
But I think that comes with people, the relationships that you have
Yeah,
with
yeah,
people.
yeah, I
Because
think
your agent, did your agent
Yeah.
talk to you about stuff like that?
Yeah, so it's my agent, my
Which is nice
financial
because
advisor.
some of the agents don't do it. I'm not picking out any agents, just going on my experience and what I know with lads. Because I have to say this now, health and safety and everything like that. But so yeah, it's obviously sometimes the lads don't get
Yeah.
like pushed.
Yeah.
Because obviously now that's my job now. What I'm going to try and do is push lads to get something that they like, even if it's a property or earning a restaurant or anything like that, just to try and get them on the business stepping stone. Even if they didn't want to go there and they've saved enough money, it's still got something out there that they can go and do. Because when you finish, then after, because what you've been doing, like we're saying, repetition, week in, week out, then all of a sudden you're sitting at home and like, what do I do next?
I think it's important to, because during your career you probably don't look at all these things that you invest in. But it's when you finish your career that you start to look around and say, okay, I've got this, I've got that, I've got this, I've got that. But at the time you're not really that focused in it.
If you look, it's pretty simple with property. If you're looking at, I know careers are a lot longer, but even over 10 years, and just to add a couple of investment properties a year, when some of these guys are on, even if they're on 10 grand a week, you can afford to do that, right?
So I mean, you should be. I'll be looking to do it every month now. Do you know what I mean?
But you only know that now.
you know what I mean?
So Jesus, all of us
If you
do.
over 10 years, well, you've got to think about it. If you buy properties now, in 10 years' time, if you're putting a deposit down, you get a buy-to-let mortgage, which is how you invest. Most of these properties, you should double, triple your investment you've put down over that period of time, and obviously gain a lot of rent. But if you manage to accumulate 20, 30 properties at the end of your career, not only have you gained so much capital growth from there, but you've got an income that will just sustain your lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
It's quite simple when you think about it.
It is.
It's just taking that step. And, excuse my French, having the balls to do it as well. And sometimes they do need someone with experience to push them.
Yeah, it's weird. Like let's
the
just
right
say
people around you.
It's
It's the right
literally
people around you.
is having the right people around you
That you
and
trust,
someone
that you trust, yeah.
and they can guide you the right way. And literally that's and I've taken it on to do that with Ronnie because it's needed. And I've had a business for the last 20 odd years and not falling on it accidentally, not knowing that it will be a mad stepping stone for me, life after football, until I retired and thinking, oh, Jesus, I've got this. And when you're in the bubble, you don't realise that unless you actually have someone around you to do that. So I'm setting this up now for a tool for lads to come to me because they can trust me because I've been through the whole process and I want them to go through this process. So there's no, obviously everyone's different in their own ways. Mental health is massive now and I want to try and limit that mental health for that situation because they shouldn't, there's no footballer that should go bankrupt.
No.
I don't care who you are, what you do, you shouldn't be. But it's just how you deal with it and how you want to prolong your career after the football. And this is why I do this.
The biggest problem is always going to be divorce.
Massive. But
your kids and stuff like that. That's what messes a lot.
Yeah, but
lot
even
of people
through divorce, because I've done that as well,
and not having the right people kind of
excuse me,
backing you, and because I've seen we've all seen some cases where
100%.
The player's been dealt a bad hand. You know what I mean, in terms of his representatives and stuff like that, and I think some people have struggled in that way.
But that still comes with the advice that you get during the way, and helping you for no disrespect to anybody, but it helps you when if that situation comes, you're prepared for it. You shouldn't be, but life changes, things happen, and so you're setting a stepping stone for that.
You have to
because
look after yourself,
look after your family and your kids and everyone, but you set yourself ready for situations that are going to come.
Right,
Yeah, it's kind of the flip side. You don't want 40 properties, then go through divorce. So you kind of
excuse me. No, you don't, which is crazy.
But it all boils down to having the right people around you. Like even going back to the agents, like you said, again, not pointing any fingers, but even financial advisors and accountants, I deal with them all the time, and some of them are absolutely incredible. They've got the player's best interests at heart, literally going through every nook and cranny of everything, and I really respect them for that. But then you get some other people that are just, you know, can I earn out of it? It's about having the right people. It's so important. So important.
Yeah, my agent Phil, he said to me, I'm doing to you what I didn't do. And at the time, I'm like, you don't need to, I'm all right. I'm like 24, and I'm sorted. But until I realise now, when he meant it, and I'm like, oh, thank God that you actually did that to me, because it made me the person. So now that's what I want to try and implement.
You speak really highly of Phil. You mention him a lot to me, don't you? You speak very, very highly.
Excuse me. Yeah, only because, you will do it because, it's helped me. And when you got someone that helps you like that, you want to help them and do
Shout out to Phil.
Yeah.
Did you hear,
my guy.
Did you hear about, I think there's a story about Allen Iverson, and something like he earned a lot of money in his career.
Yeah.
And I think he blew through it, potentially, I think, what I heard. But someone took some money or done something and put it aside for him.
Oh, okay.
After, and he never knew about it, and he wasn't allowed to touch it until he was a certain age. And that was like a godsend for him. Do you know what I mean? Just to have that kind of put aside.
The Belgian FA do that, don't they? I believe the Belgian FA take a percentage of all of their wage and they give it back to them when they finish their career.
Shut up, didn't even
Seriously,
know that.
I spoke, I'd have to confirm that 100%, but I'm 99.9%. I believe they take 20, I think it's 20%. And they keep it, it's in their contracts. If you're playing in Belgium, that is.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Must be a thing I need to implement to my new company to try and help them.
Well, it is, look, it's not all about property, right? There's loads of investments.
There's
businesses, everything.
Yeah,
it's about having small proportions of things, but with property, for me, it's the lowest risk.
Yeah.
So you haven't got to think about. Do you see what I mean? That's the benefit.
What's your thoughts on like off plan? Because I bought a few of them.
I deal majority off plan, Ledley, but I make sure that I'm dealing with the best possible developers, etc. But off plan really works. So with off plan, you either get in first, super early, get a good deal. And look, if you're getting a buy-to-let mortgage and you say a property's worth 200 grand, you put 25% down. During that period, buying off plan, you should get capital growth. So if it goes up by, let's keep numbers easy, right? If it goes up by, say, 10%, you're making a 40% return on your investment that you've put down during that period. In certain cases, off plan doesn't work, but it's all about location and making sure it can rent.
Yeah.
And there's a demand, and that's it. Too many people, for me, get fixated on like big penthouses, central London. I want to spend £1 million on that property. If you've got a mortgage on there and that's empty for 6 months, like you just said with property abroad, it's hemorrhaging cash. So to answer your question, mate, off plan is incredible if you're dealing with the right person. Flipping it on the other side, if you buy a property that's complete right now with interest rates high, your income isn't as high as it could be. So some people, certainly the last couple of years, are looking to put money into off plan to wait for the interest rates to come down, which will maximise their return on investment. So there's various ways to do it. But what I personally do with Marlon is everything's bespoke to the individual. I don't just sell property. So you consult them, you chat to them, you find out what their goals are, what they want to do post-career. Are they looking for income right now? Do they want to build money up for an income in the future? About doing it tax efficiently, like you said, it's super important. So we work with the best accountants that literally do everything for everyone. So there's a mixture, and obviously every investment's different for every person, right?
Yeah, 100%. But it's good, and thank you, Ronnie. It's just with the icing on the cake, that is nice. Sometimes lads need to hear things like that to try and get them to understand. Oh, actually, maybe I might have a little look at that, and then when they're gonna have a look, then they'll understand that it's beneficial to them.
Now, I won't sell or build a portfolio for someone unless I really understand them.
Yeah.
We get on very well, and I really do believe that I can add value to their life.
Okay.
There are some people that I don't actually do it.
Yeah.
Because I want to buy that apartment, that penthouse. I can't do my job properly with that because I don't believe that's going to make them money.
Yeah.
So sometimes you've got to walk away, and it's a shame, really.
Yeah.
But again, that goes back to there's the sharks out there that sell anyone anything.
Yeah.
Which again comes back to your advice, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Which is why we're here, Marlon.
We are, and this is why we're doing this. And obviously, having Ledley has been at his top of his game, and it's actually refreshing, really, Led, listening to you and hearing what you had to say and what you've been doing, because not many lads have put themselves in that situation. Because our era, we had a lot of financial advisors and accountants, so we was. Obviously, a lot of lads are in trouble now through the investment schemes that they've been doing, not doing their due diligence on it, and they're feeling it now. And so hence why I'm doing this, because hearing stories like that, I just don't want them to get into situations like that anymore, because going bankrupt and trying to look after your family is just not right. And you've been given advice as well, which is crazy.
Yeah. It happens too often.
The worst thing is that the guys giving that bad advice, knowing they're doing it, get away with it as well.
Yeah. But I'm not calling them out. But at the time, I don't think they think it's bad advice. I think they're just doing it because they think they're helping them.
It's 50-50, I think.
Yeah.
Some are just after money, aren't they?
Yeah, well, obviously, you sign this, I'm going to get money for it. So that's their thought process. Not thinking, let me do some research on it before I give it to you, because will there be a massive tax bill after this?
Yeah. I can't think of anything worse than losing someone else's money. Losing money for that.
You'll kill me.
It does affect them later in life and their conscience, right?
Maybe, but they'll be seen in Barbados with a cigar.
Which
is crazy. But yeah, no, it's good. It's unbelievable. You're asking loads of my questions. You pretty much killed me, Led, because I wasn't expecting you to have this sort of thought process, which is really, really nice. So yeah, it's just. Did you obviously with your family and stuff, your kids? Was you prepared for this? Like when you came to an end of retiring, was you ready to retire and think what you're going to do on next?
No, not really. As we spoke about, my injuries, from 26 to 31, no training, struggling with my knee. I was very much in the mindset of keeping my head strong and remaining in the game.
Yeah.
I think even the season I actually retired, I played 23 league games that season. So it's quite rare to play 23 league games and then don't play any more football the next season. I'd retire.
Yeah.
But it was more of the fact that I'd injured my knee during that season, kind of halfway through the season. First half of the season, I felt great.
Yeah.
Played maybe 10 games. We was unbeaten in the 10 games. Felt as good as
was that under Redknapp?
Yeah. I felt as good as I'd felt in a long time. So at this point, I'm thinking I've got a few more years. At that point, then all of a sudden, collision, knee blew up, and I was out for about a month. And then when I come back from that, it was never the same.
Did you know that yourself in your head? You're thinking this is over, or was you kind of holding on to a bit?
I had a way of just kind of reinventing myself over the summer, even if I was in pain or whatever. I'd kind of get in the summer, rehab, and come back and start again.
Yeah.
So part of me was thinking, I just want to kind of get to the end of the season and have a time off, and because the problem was I knew that I was important to the team, so I could never give myself a break. Like I always felt like if I can play, I'm going to play. But the second half of the season, I just couldn't move. And I had a couple of games where I was embarrassed a little bit. Do you know what I mean?
Were you thinking that during the game whilst you were playing?
Yeah, there was one particular game where I thought, this is I'm not enjoying this at all. I'm not enjoying this at all. This game.
That's crazy.
And I got to the end of the season, spoke to my surgeon, and he said, "You're gonna do yourself some serious damage, like trying to play on it
Trying to
anymore.
get going through.
Try playing it like in your later years. You'll be in a wheelchair."
Yeah. Did you what?
Like,
What was the
your
feeling when it happened?
mate,
Like, it must have been horrendous, no?
Yeah, but of course, but at the same
Was
time,
it relief
I knew
as well? 'Cause it was kind
a
of-
little bit because
Yeah.
I've been doing it for 5 years. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
it
with
takes
that
a
injury,
lot of just
But when did the
mental
injury actually
strength and a
happen? Because I think 2024 was your best season, wasn't it?
Maybe
I think England.
2020.
Oh, sorry,
04.
it's 2004.
Yeah.
Bloody hell, I'm losing
I
things.
just had it. I just had my best season.
Yeah, just jumped 20 years ahead.
Yeah.
Right. So it's 2004. I think you played most of the games for Tottenham. You
Yeah, I
played
think I
for
played
England
every
as
league,
well.
Yeah.
That's when I was in my prime as well.
So, yeah.
Scored a hat trick. I
I
almost did. I got called up. Walcott went.
Yeah. I'll tell you, the crazy thing is, I got called up playing for England 4 years into not retiring. So not training. 4 years into not training, I was still called up
Yeah,
for
I think,
England.
I think 2000. That's the South African World Cup as well.
Yeah,
Wasn't
the
it?
2010. But I'd say from 20, probably 25, started niggling at me. Started missing the odd day training, and then at 26 was when I had the big operation.
I actually know quite a few players that are my clients that are going through injuries and still playing now. So it's quite refreshing talking to you as well about that. Because there's so many people
100%.
out there mentally going through it. And there's also probably players that are hiding things from their clubs because of this reason, you know?
Yeah.
It's difficult because, especially the background we grew up in, it was all about how tough you could be and all like, do you know what I mean? Don't show any weakness, any pains. In hindsight, I probably could have looked after my knee a bit better if I'd not played through certain situations when I was in pain or in the early stages.
Yeah.
But yeah, anytime I could play, I kind of tried to force it through. But in hindsight, I probably would have.
Imagine you did have an injury. Like, hell, mate, you was amazing anyway, but I know, sky's the limit.
But it's actually crazy, like, obviously sitting there now talking to you, lad, it's like, we don't really have these conversations. We're just like talking about family and kids and stuff. But obviously now it's quite an emotional thing because I feel for you, but you're actually quite strong-willed. To actually go through that, I know what it's like when you're injured and you're trying to, you just want to be out there. You don't want to be on that table.
To go into to play games when you know you haven't even run, you haven't even been running outside, you haven't kicked the ball all week, and then you're going on the pitch and playing against.
But what were you doing in between then? Just mobility work?
Yeah, I was in the gym trying to keep everything strong, swimming pool. But I just had to convince myself.
That's even harder.
I had to convince myself that it wasn't about fitness. It wasn't about. It was about football, and I had to play.
Right. If I go run 5k and I feel a bit of a niggle after 1k, I just stop. I walk back home. But like your mental strength, mate, is incredible.
That's mental health right there.
That's incredible, yeah.
On another level.
Yeah, but
Very
at the
strong.
same time, I was probably struggling because of being indoors all the time. I didn't want to be in there.
Yeah.
Didn't want to be in. My teammates are training outdoors, so throughout the week was a nightmare. And then being out in the game was my only
Release.
my buzz.
Resonates with you, mate. You said like a big part of the game for you, what you missed was the banter.
Yeah.
So you were
I miss
training
that. I miss
alone. You weren't even with
So I miss
these
that.
guys.
Yeah, I
you
miss
just go in and start playing. Wow,
Yeah,
mate.
I miss
Well,
it.
massive
Actually,
props to you,
I
mate.
played a game when I was out 7 months. I had a groin problem, hernia. I trained once or twice. I trained and played at Anfield after being out 7 months. It wouldn't happen, would it?
No.
Normally you train for a month.
You were that good, mate. That's why.
But I was just about to say, that's led you that good, the respect that you got, and hopefully with the lads and stuff, they want you in the team to be that person, that leader.
I think it was the manager. He kind of. I went to watch the game. Not even. As I say, I'd been out that long. I went to watch and they'll play it.
That was on the Redknapp. I think Redknapp went to watch, and he played. Redknapp won one game. I don't know who he was making. I think it was West Ham. And there was a heckler in the crowd. It was a friendly game, and someone got injured, and he was like, "I tell you what, mate." Put your fucking boots on and get on.
Yeah. No,
And I think there was a comment about, I think there was a striker at West Ham, Lee Chapman, I think it was. And he was having a go at Lee Chapman, so Harry Redknapp took Chapman off, put him on.
Yeah.
And at the end he goes, you actually played better than Chapman. It's funny.
It's good.
Jesus, mad. You know, obviously you don't really think about that aspect of that side.
No, you don't,
obviously my
mate.
podcast is on investments and educating the other lads, but it's so good to hear you speak about your thing, because I I think you've done a few podcasts, but I don't think many people hear what lads actually have to go through sometimes when you're going through them injuries and them situations where you really want to play, but you're pushing yourself to a whole different level just to try and get on that pitch.
I don't want to obviously start on the subject, but like, do you feel like there was a lot of pressure from the fans as well to play? Because like, you're not fans alike. When someone's not playing well, they're screaming at you. When you're playing well, they're wishing you well. So it's not even just about the actual team.
But the pressure that you get is a different kind of pressure because you put pressure on yourself regardless anyway. So you
feel guilty, don't you?
Yeah, you hear the fans, but you already got that pressure on you to go and perform week in, week out. And it's probably even worse when you're injured because you want to do the best of your abilities, but you can't because you've got a niggle, but you can't really push yourself, but you have to go out and do it.
Well, you must feel guilty, not only to yourself, to the team manager and to the fact, it's a lot of pressure, man.
When you're not playing, you feel guilty. You feel
much
like,
pressure.
you feel.
Yeah, and I think it's worse back in our generation because the manager, they expect you to be out there.
Yeah, they want technical, but they're like, just come in.
They expect you like...
Squads are smaller as well, aren't they? So you kind of like,
Well, definitely smaller than Chelsea anyway.
Go and see the doc, get that sorted, and you're back out there, which is crazy.
Yeah.
One last question for me, really, mate. Is there any kind of advice that you'd give to younger players right now, if you could?
I think I would just encourage them to take control of their finances as early as possible. So just understand what their income is and what their outcomes are. What's coming out of their accounts. Just to understand.
What's that entail, though? What's that entail?
I think it just understands. I think it's just a bit of research and speaking, being able to sit down with someone, financial advisor if you have one, family member if it's that, and just understanding what your spending habits are, what's coming in, what goes out. And I think the earlier you do that, I think the better understanding you can have in terms of moving forward, what you can invest in, what you can do with your money.
Yeah.
And just that way you don't, when you understand what's coming in and what should be coming out, then there's no way people can fleece you in that kind of regard. When you have that understanding, it's when you don't pay attention to your money, when you're not looking at your finances and you don't really have the understanding, is when you can be taken advantage of.
Yeah, I completely back that up. I think if you're unsure about something, you ask. You always say ask questions to your guys all the time, don't you? And if you've got a bad gut feeling about something, do not do it.
Yeah.
And again, when you go back to speaking to people advice, do due diligence on that individual.
And maybe you can ask a few people about. Sometimes it's not just one person.
Yeah,
maybe it's a few. Maybe it's a few people.
Motto,
okay,
really.
this is
ask questions.
Yeah.
Because I do quite a few seminars with quite a few under 18s, 23s, and there's probably about 3 or 4 of them, out there 20 of them, and investing in stuff. So I said that's perfect. You are investing in something, but I asked them, do you know what you're investing in? And they say no. So I say, okay, well, can you go and ask the question what you're investing in? What's it? How it? Just be interested in what you're putting your money into. It's good that you're doing it, but just learn about it and understand it's beneficial for you that they've put you something into.
And I also think it'd be interesting. It probably doesn't happen, but for players to speak amongst each other.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen because we don't really share finances like that.
No.
But you can do things together as well.
Yeah.
You can put money in together
To be quite honest,
as groups.
I'm actually doing that already with some,
Yeah.
Obviously, I won't go into it, but
Yeah, of course. I think it's a good idea.
Do you know what it is? It's the older generation with me that do that.
Yes, exactly.
The young ones, because they're playing, it's just a traditional trying to build something for longer term. But
it's over time.
there's so many options out there, mate. Again, you speak to the right people, you get the right advice, you're winning, right?
For sure.
Yes, well, that's a wrap. Thank you, Led, Ronnie, for joining me in our next episode of Boots to Business. I'd like to thank Ronnie, Income After Sport, for sponsoring this podcast. Without you, this couldn't happen. And I thank Led for taking his time out to come and have a chat with me and trying to listen to your story and educate the next generation. As at Mard, BMW Stansted, thank you guys. Without you, this wouldn't be possible. Just next episode, keep them rolling. If there's any people that you would like to see, have a chat with, what they've been up to during their career and what they invested in and not invested in, just to try and help you see different characters, different personalities, then please make a comment at the bottom and let me know.
And if you're a football player or an athlete And you want some advice on property as well, click the link below.
Yes, and hit Ronnie.
Thank you for your time, guys.
Thank you.